Hi there. In this video, we shall discuss how to formulate a hypothesis. But before proceeding, let me show you this picture taken early morning. If the sky looks like this early in the morning, what happens in the afternoon? If you think it might rain in the afternoon, your guess will likely happen because of the thick cloud formations. So your guess is a hypothesis based on specific information. Now let us define a hypothesis. A hypothesis is a statement or tentative theory which aims to explain facts about the real world. According to worksheetsplantel.com, a hypothesis is a precise, testable statement of what the researcher predicts will be the outcome of the study. It is stated at the start of the study. This usually involves proposing a possible relationship between two variables, the independent and the dependent variables. A fundamental requirement of a hypothesis is that it can be tested against reality and can then be supported or rejected. Now let us talk about the kinds of hypothesis. Number 1 is null hypothesis, represented by the symbol h sub 0, expresses the idea of non-significance of difference. This can be represented by the equal sign. For example, there is no significant difference between the sizes of male and female tilapia. In this case, we can also say that the mean sizes of male tilapia equals the mean size of the female tilapia. And number 2 is the alternative hypothesis. A symbol h sub represents this hypothesis, and the alternative hypothesis represents the hypothetical statement that the researcher wants to prove. For example, there is a significant difference between the sizes of male and female tilapia. In this statement, we cannot distinguish which group is larger over the other, so we shall use the unequal symbol. Or we can also say that the average size of the male is not equal to the average size of female tilapia. Another way to state the alternative hypothesis is to pinpoint which one is larger than the other. For example, the male tilapia are significantly larger than the female tilapia. In this case, we use the symbol greater than to indicate that male tilapia can grow larger than the female. There are two kinds of alternative hypothesis. Number 1 is directional. This it predicts in which direction the change will take place, represented by either greater or lesser than. And number 2 is non-directional, a statement of non-equality represented by unequal sign. Here we have a table summarizing our directional and non-directional alternative hypothesis. A non-directional hypothesis requires two-tailed test, while a directional hypothesis requires one-tailed test. We shall discuss one- and two-tailed tests in the near future. Now, we have a problem here. We need to help the researcher formulate a null and directional alternative hypothesis. The researcher wanted to compare the growth rates of pearl oysters raised in two culture methods, the floating longline and the tray methods. In this case, the null hypothesis could be stated as, the growth of pearl oyster raised in floating lines and bottom trays are not significantly different. And the directional alternative hypothesis could be stated as the growth rates of pearl oysters raised in floating lines is greater than those raised in bottom trays. Now it's your turn to formulate the null hypotheses and non-directional alternative hypotheses for the following problems. Number 1, the researcher wanted to compare the survival of black-lipped pearl oysters raised in pocket net baskets and bamboo baskets. Number 2, the researcher wanted to compare the density of giant clams in protected and open-accessed areas. Number 3, the researcher wanted to compare the growth of juvenile abalone in indoor tanks and ocean nurseries. Number 4, the researcher wanted to compare the survival of Trachis juveniles at 3 different densities in cages set at the shallow subtidal reef. And number 5, the researcher wanted to determine the effect of 3 different water temperatures on the hatching rate of grouper eggs in indoor tanks. That's all for now. See you soon.